Hello, hi, and welcome to another episode of The Emma Gunn Show and a midweek instalment of Bullet Points. And this will be a rather brief one. Simply because if you are watching this on YouTube, you will see I am not in my usual made-up state for these video and audio check-ins, because it is actually after 9 o'clock at night. But I was actually going to record this tomorrow morning. I thought, you know what, I'll sleep on it. I've had a busy day. I will record this tomorrow morning. But I do like to have my episodes ready to go live at midnight 01 on the day that I publish. And so actually, if I'd done that, I would have missed that. And if you are used to seeing it in your feed, in your podcast feed, or come up on your YouTube on a particular time, you would think, oh, what's happened to that? Maybe, or maybe you wouldn't notice. But for me, I notice. Anyway, I thought, you know what, I have to talk about this on Bullet Points because I think it's quite important. Because I wrote a piece on Substack a couple of days ago about how I have a social battery that doesn't have a huge amount in it, especially at this time of year. And part of that is because my birthday is in a few days and I always sort of contemplate too many things when it comes to my birthday. I get a little bit maudlin. I get a little bit, am I doing all the right things with my life? And this, that, and the other. So I've always been a bit of a grumpy Christmas baby. And I think having a birthday that close to Christmas, it kind of gets caught up in everything else. And you feel as though your birthday is just completely secondary. And so I know many Christmas babies who are like this. It's not just me, but we'll move on because I do think it can veer towards the slightly, what's the word? Self-indulgent. Anyway, so social battery, this is what I wrote about on my Substack. Again, I'll put the link in the show notes and also in this video caption for you to be able to go and read that if you so wish. Please do go over and subscribe to my Substack. You can subscribe. There are loads of pieces that you can read for free. There are some that are behind a paywall, but the weekly column, those sorts of shorter musings, all the podcast links, they're all free. You just subscribe. And then basically, instead of having to find it yourself, it goes into your inbox. So it's lovely. But I talked about how the Christmas season, the festive season, the party season can be this really wonderful thing that's terribly exciting because you think, oh, I'll see so-and-so before the end of the year, or I'll do that before the end of the year. And I don't know what you're like, but it doesn't take me too many steps into party season before I feel fatigued by it, before I feel a little bit overwhelmed by it. And it's taken me this long. I am literally on the cusp of my 47th birthday. And I'm only really now learning how to be, how to say no, don't want to go to that. Because I think I've always thought I'll say yes and then maybe this is the party where I'll unlock that part of my personality that can do an all-night or is game to go to the next after party or any of that kind of gubbins and caper. So I was thinking about, and I've just learned that's never going to happen. I'm never going to be that kind of person. I'm fundamentally somebody who has a very specific pillow formation and doesn't like sleeping on pillows that are not mine. And so there's a homing beacon now within my body that just begins to pull me like a tractor beam towards my own bed. And so for that reason, I like to either have a pre-booked cab or know that there is a train running or a tram running or a bus running or any of those things that will get me to my groove pillow, my maternity pillow, even though I am not with child, and my various other fluffy pillows that all have to be put in a particular position for me to be able to sleep well. Am I a pampered baby? Yes, I am. Anyway, so something happened this evening that I thought, well, this might be worth mentioning because it sort of goes against what I said in that piece, but I kind of did it with boundaries, and so I hope it makes sense. So I live in a building, I live in a flat, an apartment, and there are about 20 or so other flats in this building. And there is always a Christmas gathering, and it is in the flat next door. And I haven't been previous years, I think because either I've been away for Christmas or there were the years when I was isolating, and then because of the proximity of the date of the party to when I was then seeing family, I opted out. But then this year, it's actually a couple of weeks before Christmas, and I had completely forgotten about it. And my lovely neighbour sent me an email this afternoon saying, there's a package for you. Very kindly, he had signed for a package that had been delivered to me. I knew there was a package on the way, but they didn't tell me they were sending a courier today. And so I wasn't in, and thankfully he was and sorted it all out, which was very kind of him. And so when I went to go and collect it, he said, am I seeing you tonight? Now, if you're on YouTube, you will see I am wearing my beloved Rare Beauty tracksuit. And this is how I went to collect my parcel whilst also wearing my Fit Flop slippers. And I said, oh gosh, is that tonight? And I had some work to do. I had a Zoom call at 6. And so I thought, oh gosh, I know, because I was already tired and a bit grumpy because it was cold. It is cold. And I thought, oh God, the last thing I want to do is do anything social. And so I will explain to you exactly what happened, because I'm hoping that by me telling you this, you will find it funny. And then maybe it might be the thing that makes you think, you know what? I know exactly how that feels. Maybe I should just pull the trigger sometime. So this is exactly what happened. So I finished my call while still wearing I was wearing my Rare Beauty tracksuit bottoms, but I had put on a nice jumper with a fringe detail on the back. I haven't actually put that on Instagram. Maybe I'll put that on Instagram. Anyway, my hair's a bit greasy and my makeup needed a refresh, but I wasn't wearing my contact lenses. I was wearing my glasses as I am now. And I tend not to wear my glasses out. But I thought, you know what? Put some makeup on, keep your glasses on, put your hair back. Come on, let's do this. I put some skinny jeans on. And then I paced back and forth up and down my hallway, fearing going to this gathering, because despite knowing my neighbour, I actually don't know many other people in the building. It's one of those buildings where I think for the first 2 years, I saw 2 other people. And I remember thinking, maybe no one else lives here. Obviously they do. And then I spoke to friends, said, I've got to go to this thing. And I was hoping that a friend would say, if you're tired, don't go. None of my friends did that. All of my friends said, oh, just pop in for half an hour. And I do have some more work to do like this. I also have some emails that I have to send off. And by the time I do that, it'll be after 10 o'clock. But I also have something that needs to be written. And I thought, you know what? I am going. And so I had a bottle that I could take with me. So I walked out of my hallway. And as soon as I was out of my hallway, I could hear the chit chat of people in the flat next door having a jolly old time. I heard the clinking of glasses through the door. The door was slightly ajar. I heard jolly chatter and just a general thrum of people having what sounded like a very civilized drinks reception type situation. And then what happened is I pushed the door open, which is not visible from the room where everyone was. And I stood in the hallway. I swear to goodness, I stood in that hallway for 15 seconds. Now you think about being in someone's home that is not yours, and there's loads of people in one room and you're just standing in the hallway and you've let yourself in and you're there for 15 seconds. And I when I tell you that I nearly bolted, because I just got completely overwhelmed with this idea, with just this sense of social anxiety and of thinking, I'm going to not be able to hold a conversation because I know I'm tired. It's been a funny old week. I haven't been feeling 100%. The last thing I want to do is go into this room and make a fool of myself and also not be able to make conversation. And in those 15 seconds, just absolutely just told myself, leave, just you leave. And then physically something happened in that my little legs just started to walk me into the living room while my brain's going, what the hell's happening? What on earth's going on? But my legs were like, yep, we're going. Anyway, all of this is to say that despite all my protestations about not particularly being brilliant at social gatherings, particularly social gatherings where I really don't know anyone other than a handful of neighbours, and I have to say I'm very lucky in this building in that all of the people that I know, who I say hello to or send a Christmas card to, all of those sorts of things, they are so, so lovely. But it's very, hello, how are you? Yes, weather's, it's very sort of surface, which is lovely. I actually really like that. I think it's genuinely very sweet. If any of them said, oh, could you sign for this for me? Could you hold on to this for me? Or I need you, I would do it in a heartbeat. They're such lovely, lovely people. But I was still really apprehensive about going in because obviously there were going to be people there that I didn't know. And I walked in and I met a lovely lady named Mel and we had a bit of a chat, and then someone else came over, a lovely lady called Emma came over, and I could not have had a nicer time. It was so relaxed, so chilled. And I was so fortunate to walk into that environment, having felt so anxious about it and having almost needed to be yanked in there by a force bigger than me, as in my brain and my body disconnected for a moment and my body said, well, we want to know what's around the corner. And it was genuinely, genuinely lovely. And so it's a really good reminder for me and maybe for you, that even though I know as an absolute, I am not a social butterfly, I am not by nature somebody who does particularly well in small talk environments. I find it quite overwhelming. I find it overstimulating. But this was such a lovely reminder that actually sometimes you do have to dip your toe in, because I could have very easily, after 10 minutes, if I'd been standing there quietly, awkwardly, sort of playing with the stem of a wine glass, I could have said, "Excuse me, I'm afraid I do have to go." And I'm sure nobody would have thought it particularly peculiar. But actually, I stayed for nearly an hour and just had a brilliant time. And I'm so glad that I went, because had I not, and I think this is the crucial part of the parable, if it's a parable, a story or something, I think had I not, I would have wondered about, oh, I wonder what it would have been like, or well, you should have just gone. I would have spent quite a lot of time tomorrow, almost certainly, having a go at myself quietly for not going. And when my friends who I had messaged and told and said, "Should I go to this? I'm a bit nervous," I would have tried to justify it to them, all the while knowing that really it would have been fine. But it's funny, isn't it? Because I've said this to friends before. I can go on live television and I don't think about it. That sort of thing doesn't faze me. I can get up in front of a room of people and I am not bothered about public speaking in the way that I know is completely crippling for others. I can do things like this. I can film myself with no makeup on, and basically in like my pajama tracksuit, and I am completely unbothered. Yet something like that, going into an environment like that that's so unknown, is crippling. And it reminds me of my first day of university. I was on a corridor and there were 5 rooms on the corridor, and we all were unpacking with our doors open. And I was absolutely petrified to take a step over the threshold into the corridor because I was just so scared of these 4 other women. I was so scared to go and say, "Hello, I'm Emma. Who are you? What's your name?" I found it utterly, I still remember how scared I was to that day. And I just sort of, I guess I'm sort of that person who as a kid, I did hide behind my mother's skirts a little bit. And yet it's so funny that when it's something like television or radio or presenting or public speaking, hosting, absolutely no bother at all. I get nervous, but in a completely different way, in an excited way, in a way that I think, oh, this is going to be exciting. Whereas when I do something like that, when I walk into that apartment and I'm there unannounced for 15 seconds, and just count 15 seconds, next time you just sort of get a minute, that's a long time to be standing there not moving. It really is. And as I was doing it, I just thought, what are you doing? This is bizarre. And I knew that if I walked out of the door again, that would be stupid and weird. And then I really would be having a long conversation with myself. Anyway, it's a really good reminder that sometimes you just have to dip your toe in. And if it's not for you, make your excuses and leave. But equally, as soon as I got home, I thought, that's now done. There's a line drawn under it. I know if it had gone poorly, I could have made my excuses and left, and the line would have been drawn under it. Thankfully, it went really well. A line is drawn under it, and now I can sleep soundly, and I won't worry about, oh, did I offend the host by not going? I wonder if they will talk about me at the next gathering because I'm the girl who never turns up. None of that, because I've done it now. And there's actually, weirdly, that's where I thought I'm going to actually record this. It's just taken a little bit of a weight, a little bit of a stress off my shoulders that would have lingered and would have sort of, I don't know, just not been very nice. And now it's gone and I can draw a line under it. So maybe this is my message to you, despite what I said on Substack, which I still stand by the way. I do think that every now and again, you just have to dip your toe in. Even though I think I do know my boundaries, I do know what I like and I do know what I don't like. For example, I don't like New Year's Eve parties. I know that might be shocking to some people. I genuinely don't. Couldn't care less. The idea of going to a party at say 7 o'clock and knowing that you're probably going to be there for 6 hours and you're not going to get into bed until 2. No, just not for me. I like my sleep. I've told you. I've talked about my pillow formation, haven't I? I will do a whole video on my pillow formation if you think that would be interesting. But anyway, I think I know the things that I like and I know the things that I don't like. But I also think that when it comes to risk, going to a social gathering of a load of residents is a fairly low risk in the sense of you're probably going to recognize somebody. You've got a great host to make sure that you're introduced to people, and you don't have to stay very long. So when it comes to big parties like sit down meals or office dues, that kind of thing, it's a different kettle of fish. But if you are invited to anything a little bit smaller and it would just be easy to sort of overlook it, maybe just pop your head around the door and say hello, and sip a little glass of Bailey's perhaps for a few moments. Anyway, that's my little story for bullet points, because I personally wanted to share the fact that I would have probably said to you on this podcast a few weeks ago, or written on that Substack, I know what I like and I know what I don't like. But I didn't want to offend the host, who's a really lovely person. And so I wanted to go along, and actually it was social anxiety that was making me not go. It was the idea of not fitting in or not being accepted or any of those things. It's like that first day of uni, that first day of school fear. And I'm glad I sort of pushed past that and made myself speak to people. And when you think about it, it's so bizarre. Like, even when I've been on dates, I've often thought, I can't believe you find it difficult when you're an interviewer for a living. Because if a date goes poorly, or if a social interaction doesn't have any sort of lubrication, seems to be a bit stiff, just start interviewing people. Just start interviewing people in a way that doesn't seem aggressive or inquisitive or in any way sort of a little bit much. Like, just, hey, ask interesting questions about that person, not what do you do. I was watching Vanessa Van Edwards actually on something recently. She came on the podcast ages ago, and she says that she's a recovering social introvert or something like that, or recovering socially anxious. And she said, don't ask people what they do, ask people like, what excites you, like what gets you motivated in the morning. And I think you have to choose your crowd. I think if you're talking to a crowd of entrepreneurs, I think they're great questions, like, hey, what motivates you, what gets you out of bed in the morning? But if you're talking to somebody who's been in education for 15 years or somebody who runs a shop, I think actually your sort of set of questions is a little bit more limited, because you kind of already have an idea about what that might entail, or you might have an opinion or any of those things. Anyway, all I mean is just go into interview mode. Think of 3 questions that are sort of open. In fact, go to Vanessa Van Edwards' page. Choose 3 questions that you would like to answer, that you think would be pretty universal, and just keep those in your memory bank. And bring those out if you ever think you need them. Even if the conversation hasn't dried up, maybe you can be the one who starts a really interesting conversation. That's what I tried to do a little bit tonight. And yes, I feel very good about my choices this evening. So I thought I would share it with you. And I hope that you've enjoyed the warm ambient light, the no skincare. I've just used the new Naturium Barrier Bounce on my skin, and my goodness, that is lovely and hydrating. That's exactly what I need, because it's very cold in London at the moment. And I keep going out, even though I'm wearing plenty of layers. And I got a lovely puffer jacket from Vinted, bargain. And I've been wearing that. It's super warm and lovely, and it's like got a Borg lining. It's really, really cozy. But I know loads of my friends and I have been talking about this. It's the kind of cold at the moment, because it's been quite windy as well. The chill gets into your skin and your bones, and it's really hard to get rid of it unless you get into bed and watch Real Housewives. That's my cure. So I'm feeling like my skin has been really needing an extra boost of hydration, and that Naturium Barrier Bounce is extraordinary. My skin, if you're watching on YouTube, I've just cleansed it and then I've just put it on, and it's a little bit dewy, and it's just so plumped, and it's taken that kind of tight chill out of my skin. So I shall put the link to that in the show notes and in the YouTube thing. So let me know. Anyway, please do let me know your thoughts on social anxiety, on going to parties, whether you've read that Substack. You can DM me on Instagram. You can email me at office@emmaguns.com. You can comment below this video if you're watching on YouTube. There are many ways to get in touch with me. If you only do one thing though, please do go and subscribe to my Substack. The link will be wherever it is that you're enjoying this. And as I said, there's so much content there for free. You don't only have to put your email address in. It doesn't cost you anything. You can obviously then become a subscriber, but you can get quite a lot of content for free, and it'd be great to see you over there. I'm now going to, again, if you're on YouTube, you'll see this. I'm now going to enjoy my hot Ribena, and I will edit this and make sure it's live so that it goes onto your feed at midnight 01 on Thursday. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. Send in any questions that you might have, anything you want me to bring up on the main show or on bullet points, anything that you want me to go through. If you've seen anything on my Instagram recently, you're like, I really like that you're doing that, then let me know. Or if you've seen anything on my Instagram and you're like, Emma, you haven't done this for ages, can you do more of it? Or when are you going to come back with? Let me know, because all of my content really comes from you and what the things that you might engage with and the things that you might like. So the best way for me to create content that you will like is for you to let me know what you're liking and what you want to see more of. So please don't be shy. Get in touch, whether it's email, office@emmaguns.com, commenting under my Substack, commenting under this video on YouTube, or DM on Instagram. Any of those channels, you are very welcome to get in touch with me, and I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. I will see you on the next one.